MPs may be heading for a bank holiday break, but there's no let-up in the stories about their expenses. Today, the Daily Telegraph turned its attention, among others, to the Conservative MP for St Albans, Anne Main. Well, Matthew Morris is in her constituency tonight. And Matthew, what's she being criticised for?
Well, it's an impressive and peaceful view of St Albans from here, but there is some disquiet in the city tonight. As you say, the latest MP to have their expenses scrutinised is the local Tory MP, Anne Main. Now, tonight, people are asking questions over money spent for her second home allowances. The expenses row steamrolls north into St Albans, with newspaper claims the local Conservative MP has received expenses for a second home that her daughter has been living in. This is Anne Main's principal home on a very desirable street in Beaconsfield, Buckinghamshire. It's around 25 miles from St Albans. And this is the second home, a flat in her constituency. According to the Daily Telegraph, Mrs Main's daughter has been living here for up to 3 years, rent-free. The newspaper says the expenses claims show that Mrs Main claimed on average over £1,000 a month to cover mortgage interest payments for the St Albans flat and a 10% second home council tax discount that's only granted if no one lives full-time at a property. Some residents living near the flats are not impressed.
I've never seen her. I didn't know she had a second home, like you just told me. I had no idea, and I'm not really quite sure why she's got a second home. I'm not sure if she actually needs one.
I think morally, I just think that, if you're voted in by people, you shouldn't be then using any opportunity to rip them off.
I think it's all wrong. I don't see why you could, what is it, 50 minutes, an hour's drive, or even less? Why do you need a second home?
I spent the day trying to contact Mrs Main. There was no answer at her properties and my phone calls weren't returned. Earlier, she told the BBC she's done absolutely nothing wrong.
I have never concealed the fact that my daughter's in my flat, and actually it was never going to be a full-time arrangement, and it's certainly not a little pad that's going to be here for sort of her to, move into and me never be here. If obviously my constituents feel it's unacceptable to have my daughter here, well, that will be resolved in the not-too-distant future anyway.
And tonight, a reporter for the local paper came to her defence, showing me copies of some old expenses claims that Anne Main sent her this week.
She's a very good MP. I think that a lot of people will be incredibly angry because at the moment they're finding it hard to keep one roof over their heads, let alone two. And I find that understandable, but I do think the witch hunt should be going after the people who are claiming money for clearing moles from their land, for clearing their moats.
So the local paper is supportive, but will local taxpayers be supportive too? Yes, and it is important to stress that we made every effort to contact Anne Main today. I called her Westminster office and spoke to some people there. I tried her constituency office here and her mobile phone. We tried to give her the opportunity to talk to us, perhaps even here now, but sadly we failed on that one tonight.
And what's the latest on another of our MPs caught up in the MP's expenses saga?
Well, Margaret Moran MP is the Member of Parliament for Luton South. People may remember that she was criticised for claiming £22,000 in expenses to treat dry rot at her home in Southampton, about 100 miles